Formula One has always rewarded brilliance behind the wheel. Courage, precision, instinct and speed can turn a driver into a legend. But there is a second arena in this sport, far quieter, far colder, and infinitely more unforgiving. The boardroom. History shows that mastering the cockpit does not prepare you for mastering cash flow, politics, supplier leverage, or survival economics. Some of the greatest drivers the sport has ever known learned this lesson the hardest possible way. This is the story of three world champions who tried to become something even bigger than legends. They tried to become owners. And Formula One broke them. Graham Hill, when control became catastrophe. No name in motorsport history carries more elegance than Graham Hill. He was Formula One royalty long before ownership entered the picture. A two-time world champion and the only driver to ever achieve motorsport's mythical Triple Crown, Monaco Grand Prix, Indianapolis 500, and Le Mans 24 Hours. Hill had conquered every peak the sport could offer. But success breeds ambition. By the early 1970s, Hill had grown weary of being dependent on teams and contracts. He wanted control. Not just over his driving, but over his destiny. In 1973, he founded Embassy Hill Racing, named after the title sponsor that backed his vision. This was not a vanity project. Hill was deeply involved in every aspect of the operation, from recruitment to development. For a brief moment, it looked like a masterstroke. He even drove for his own team before stepping aside to focus entirely on management. Yet Formula One ownership is a constant siege. Money is never enough. Sponsorship must be renewed endlessly. Talent must be retained. Development never stops. Embassy Hill operated like most independent teams of the era, brilliantly passionate, permanently underfunded. By 1975, there was real hope. A young prodigy named Tony Bryce was emerging as a future star. The car was improving. Hill believed the breakthrough was imminent. He poured everything he had into the project, his reputation, his finances, his time. Then Formula One delivered its cruelest twist. In November 1975, Hill was flying a small aircraft back to England from France with 5 key members of his team on board, including Bryce. Dense fog, a missed approach. The plane crashed near Elstree Aerodrome. No survivors. The team died with him. Graham Hill did not fail as a team owner because of poor decisions or financial mismanagement. He failed because Formula One demanded everything, and then took everything back in a single, irreversible moment. His dream of ownership didn't end in bankruptcy, it ended in tragedy. Embassy Hill Racing vanished overnight, leaving behind one of the most haunting what-ifs in motorsport history. John Surtees, genius without compromise. If Graham Hill represented elegance, John Surtees represented intensity. Surtees was built differently. The only man to ever win world championships on both 2 wheels and 4, he was not just a driver, he was an engineer, a perfectionist, and a relentless problem solver. After winning the Formula One World Championship with Ferrari in 1964, Surtees grew increasingly frustrated with politics and interference. Like Hill, he wanted autonomy, but unlike Hill, Surtees wanted control over the machine itself. In 1970, he launched Team Surtees, entering Formula One as owner, driver, engineer, and technical authority. On paper, it was madness. In reality, it was a reflection of who Surtees was. For nearly a decade, Team Surtees survived. That alone is remarkable. The team designed its own cars, competed against manufacturers with vastly superior budgets, and occasionally flirted with genuine competitiveness. Surtees even drove his own machines in the early years, embodying the ultimate boss driver. But survival is not success. Surtees' uncompromising personality, which made him brilliant behind the wheel, proved poisonous in the boardroom. He struggled to maintain long-term partnerships. Sponsors came and went. One of the most infamous episodes came in 1976 when the team briefly carried Durex branding, a deal so controversial that the BBC refused to broadcast races featuring the car. Results never followed ambition, no Grand Prix wins, no sustained momentum, just relentless effort for marginal gains. Financial pressure mounted year after year. Surtees invested heavily from his personal fortune, believing persistence would eventually be rewarded. But Formula One does not reward persistence without scale. By 1978, exhausted and financially drained, Team Surtees folded. John Surtees didn't fail because he lacked intelligence or commitment. He failed because Formula One ownership punishes those unwilling to compromise. In a sport where alliances matter as much as engineering, Surtees' refusal to bend became his undoing. Alain Prost, when intelligence wasn't enough. If anyone should have succeeded as a team owner, it was Alain Prost, 4-time world champion, known as the Professor, a master strategist, politically astute, calm under pressure. Prost seemed custom-built for the boardroom. In 1997, he purchased the Ligier team and rebranded it as Prost Grand Prix, envisioning a dominant all-French Formula One super team. The ingredients looked perfect: national pride, major sponsors, a factory engine deal with Peugeot. Prost wasn't building from scratch, he was inheriting an established operation, and yet everything unraveled. The boardroom proved more treacherous than any rivalry Prost faced on track. Relationships soured. Peugeot withdrew their engine deal after clashes with Prost over performance and control. Key sponsors followed them out the door. The team was left scrambling, forced to lease outdated engines just to remain on the grid. Unlike Hill or Surtees, Prost was not emotionally reckless, he was methodical. But Formula One had changed. Costs were exploding. Manufacturer-backed teams were consolidating power. Independent ownership was becoming a liability. By the early 2000s, Prost Grand Prix was drowning. Debts mounted past $30 million. Performance collapsed. Staff morale eroded. Prost poured personal funds into survival attempts that only delayed the inevitable. In January 2002, the team entered compulsory liquidation. Later, Prost would call buying the team the greatest mistake of his career. That admission is devastating, not because Prost lacked competence, but because even perfect logic cannot overcome Formula One's economic gravity. The boardroom war does not reward intelligence alone, it rewards leverage, scale, and timing. Prost had none of the three. Why champions fail as owners. The common thread between Hill, Surtees, and Prost is not ego or arrogance, it is belief. Each believed that mastery of Formula One as a driver could translate into mastery of Formula One as a business. History proved otherwise. Driving rewards instinct, ownership punishes emotion. Driving is about extracting performance in seconds. Ownership is about surviving decades. The cockpit rewards bravery. The boardroom demands compromise. Formula One is ruthless to romantics. These men weren't naive. They were just operating in a sport that evolved faster than their visions could adapt. By the time Prost entered ownership, Formula One had already become an arms race of manufacturers and conglomerates. Hill and Surtees fought earlier battles, but the outcome was the same. Champions don't fail as owners because they lack talent. They fail because Formula One no longer belongs to individuals. Cockpit glory versus boardroom survival. The legacy of Graham Hill, John Surtees, and Alain Prost remains untouchable as drivers. Their failures as owners do not diminish their greatness. Instead, they expose a deeper truth about modern Formula One. This sport rewards speed, but it is governed by economics. The skills that create legends behind the wheel are often the very traits that doom them in the boardroom. Independence becomes isolation. Confidence becomes rigidity. Passion becomes liability. In Formula One, the cockpit crowns kings, the boardroom buries them, and that is why the greatest drivers rarely become the greatest owners.